Good morning, Cloverdale Kids of Integrity. I'm so glad you're here today. Sherpa, I need you to come. Hey, Sherpa, heel and down and stay. Sherpa's actually going to be a part of our lesson today because our lesson today is on obedience, which is kind of a fancy word for the word obey. Last week, your word of integrity was humility. And so we're going to do obey today. And as Christians, if we're obeying, we're following God. And we follow God because we love God. And we love God because He first loved us. And so, obedience, obey. And our memory verse today, or this week, is found in the book of John, chapter 14, verse 15, which says, "If you love me, keep my commands." And so, if we're keeping God's commands, His rules, His laws, which there aren't that many, it's pretty simple to follow Him. If we love Him, we will follow those commands. We will obey Him. Which makes me think of this song. I think you all know it. So if you do, sing step by step with me. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways. And step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. And I will follow you all of my days. And I will follow you all of my days. And step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. It's hard not to move your feet on that song, isn't it? And following God, following Jesus, means we're obeying Him. And yes, it's an everyday following Him. Because some days we just fall down, don't we? And it's hard to follow on bad days. Sometimes it's easy to follow on good days. But every day we praise Him, we follow Him, and that means we obey Him. Well, my dog Sherpa, that's really just wanting to play this morning, he keeps bringing a toy to my friend Teresa Moore, who's doing the videoing this morning. He wants to play. But Sherpa is a border collie. They are the most intelligent dog breed. And we have had Sherpa in some obedience training classes with my friend Tammy Mitchell. And I'm about to show you some things that Sherpa has learned in his obedience training. You will notice that he won't always do it, but he should always look at my face. And we're going to talk about how we should always look at Jesus' face if we obey Him. And so Sherpa should always look at my face because he should be looking for a command to obey. And then, I probably should have done this one first, because when Sherpa and I first started training with Miss Tammy, she said the first command I'm going to teach you is come, because that will save his life. If there's a busy street and he's not paying attention and you say come, he should immediately turn around and come to you, because it will save his life. And in our Christian walk, when we come to Jesus, that will save our life for eternity. And the third thing that I want you to notice during our little obedience lesson we're going to do here in a second is he will be rewarded. Okay? So, of course, with dogs, or any animal for that matter, they love treats, they like food, and so this is a way to praise them and make them want to do the commands. Now Sherpa will do commands without the treats, but we'll use them this morning because that way you will see how he does get rewarded. Because if we follow and obey God and Jesus, we're going to get a huge reward. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So Miss Teresa's going to follow Sherpa and me over here in the grass, and we are going to do some obedience training. Sherpa with me. Sherpa heel and camp. Now Sherpa uses the word camp, but he's bilingual. He knows 2 languages. He will sit if you tell him to sit, but our command for sit is camp. So if you hear me say camp, that just means he's sitting. And I will reward him for that, and I will put it up at my face. That trains him to be looking at my face for command. Now, Sherpa does not have to have verbal commands anymore. He can just have hand motion commands. The verbal's there at the beginning to teach him, but I don't have to use verbal commands with Sherpa anymore, but I will today. And the reason you don't always need verbal commands with obedience, because what if it's really loud? What if there's a lot of people around and a lot of voices going on? Sherpa should be looking at my face, and he should be looking at my hands for commands. And that way, if it's loud, 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 he will still see me because he's looking at me. Okay, Sherpa, camp, good boy. And stand. Uh-oh, stand. Nicely done, good boy. And wait. Down. He's done this so much that he knew I was going to tell him to go down. And camp. Good boy, that was a little slow. Come. Nicely done. Good boy. Go around. Camp. Wait. And this is a big reward. Catch. All right. Bring it here. Drop. Thank you. Uh-oh. Drop. And leave it. Hey, I need you to camp. Okay, leave it. Ready? Catch. All right. Good boy, Sherpa. Thank you. We're all done. Okay. Now the problem's going to be that he's going to want to play with this toy for the rest of the lesson. We're going to ignore him. Okay? Sherpa? Okay. Good boy. All right. Let's come back over here and talk about how Sherpa's obedience to me is like our obedience to God. Sherpa, come. We're going to leave this, okay? He's going to squeak it and it's going to bother us. We're leaving this, all right? No more. Leave it. Good boy. Go find a stick. Okay, that should keep him busy maybe for a little bit, but he remembers that his ball's in my bag. Okay, so Sherpa's obedience training is like us obeying God. So remember I told you he should be looking at me for commands. Well, we should be looking toward Jesus. And in Hebrews 12:2, it says, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith. And so we believe in him. We have faith in him. We should always be looking toward him for all of our needs. Okay? And then the big come. We have to come to Jesus. He loves us. He died for us. And so in order to get the reward, we've got to come to him. And in Matthew 4, verse 19, it says, "Come." This is when Jesus was talking to a couple of his fishermen disciples, and I can't remember which two it was, if it was Peter and Andrew, I don't remember. But in Matthew 4:19, he said, "Come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." And he didn't just say it to those two apostles. He said that to us. And so after we come to Jesus and start following him, the good news, our reward is so great, we want to share that with other people. And so that's how we become fishers of men. We tell other people about following Jesus and how important it is to obey him so we can have that eternal reward. And speaking of rewards, Sherpa got treats, he got a bowl. Our reward is so much greater than anything we can imagine. Now, sometimes I reward myself with pizza and ice cream, but the reward that we are going to get for eternity, forever and ever and always, is heaven. And in Matthew 5, verse 12, when Jesus was giving the Sermon on the Mount to thousands of people, he said, "Be very glad, because you have a great reward waiting for you in heaven." So that's why I want to obey God. That's why I'm going to love him and keep his commandments. I want to live with him forever and get that reward. Well, when I think about obeying, it's also showing our faith, the way we believe in God. And when I think of people in the Bible, there are lots of people who showed faith. But the one dude that I always remember is good old Noah, who built an ark. Built it out of hickory bark, but that song is wrong. He made it out of gopher bark. So anyway, I'm going to read you a children's version of good old Noah building that ark, how he obeyed God when everybody else was laughing. Because remember, God told Noah to build an ark because he was going to send a huge flood. A flood? Why, they'd never even seen rain. How would they have a flood? Well, you know what happened. So here we go. Genesis, I'm chewing my cheat sheet over here, 6 through 9 tells the whole story about Noah and the ark. During Noah's lifetime, people were acting very wicked, and this made God unhappy. It made him sad, because people seemed to be thinking more about themselves than about God. It's kind of that way today too, isn't it? Noah, however, was a good man. He loved God and he obeyed God, and God loved Noah very much. Now, God loved all of those people as much as he loved Noah, but at that time, Noah was the only one listening to God, the only one obeying God. So God told Noah to build an ark, a big boat. So Noah followed God's plan and built a boat that was 1.5 football fields long. Now, Miss Teresa, the one that's videoing this morning, she's been to see that replica of the ark in Kentucky, and maybe you've been there too. If not, I hear it's a place we all need to visit. So it's as big as bigger than a football field and a half. That's a huge boat. And so Noah's neighbors laughed at him. But God told Noah that a great flood was coming. Noah tried to warn the people to change their ways so that they could hear God too. But they wouldn't listen. They just kept on with their selfish lives. God asked Noah to collect 2 of all the creatures of the earth and bring them into the ark. Pairs of each kind of animal were put safely inside the ark before it began to rain. Noah's wife and his 3 sons and their wives were also safe on the boat. And when everyone was aboard, God shut the door. Noah and his family and the animals lived in the ark for 7 days before the first raindrops fell. And then it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and soon the earth was covered with water. And after it stopped raining, the water continued to rise for 150 days. And the ark landed on the mountain range of Ararat during the 7th month of the flood. And God sent a big wind, and the waters began to evaporate. And Noah and the floating zoo had to stay in the ark for several more months while the earth slowly dried out. And finally, Noah sent a raven out of the ark's window to look for land, and the raven never returned. And Noah waited another week for the water level to go down, and then sent a dove to do the same thing. And the dove couldn't find a place to rest, so he returned to the ark. Another week passed, and then Noah sent the dove out again. This time it came back with an olive branch, and Noah knew that the water was low enough for a tree branch to show. When Noah sent off the dove a week later, it didn't return. The dove had found a place to live on dry land. Now it was now time for all creatures in Noah's families to move off the ark, and Noah and his family and the animals needed to start life over again. After everyone left the ark, Noah prayed to God to thank him for keeping them safe. Suddenly, a bright rainbow filled the sky, and this was God's promise that he would never flood the earth again. God has promised that to us. He's never flooded the earth again. He's given us an even bigger promise. If we obey him and follow him, love him and keep his commands, the promise is our reward to live with him in heaven forever and always. Oh my goodness! Look who's here! I knew he would show up. He always shows up. It's Clyde. And look! Clyde is obeying the laws of the land. He's wearing his mask. Let me go get Clyde and bring him over to our Bible lesson. Hey Clyde, how's it going, man?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. It's hard to breathe in this mask, but I'm wearing it because I'm obeying the laws of the land.
Oh, Clyde, I'm so proud of you. You are obeying. And you know what? That's our lesson today. We're talking about obeying God. I'm going to take your mask off because we're outside and we're pretty far apart. I don't think we're going to give each other the sickness. So there we go. That'll work. Well, Clyde, you're just in time to help me with a magic lesson that has to do with our Bible lesson on obedience today. So, I'm going to give you some ways that we should be obeying God, and then at the end of the magic lesson, we're going to see what happens if we do these things and obey God. So, Clyde, what does the first one say?
It says that we should love God.
It does say we should love God. And that's found in Luke chapter 10, verse 27. So, if we obey God, we love God. Now, first of all, I want you all to see that there is nothing in this sack, okay? It's empty. I'm not even wearing long sleeves. I can't hide anything. So there's nothing in here. All right, so Clyde, we're going to put love God is a way we obey him in the sack. What does this one say?
It says keep God's word, which kind of means that we should always study the Bible and do what it says.
That's right, and that's found in John 14:23. So that's a way we obey God, is to study his word. So we're going to put that in there. What's your next one say?
Well, it's something that we've talked about before. It's the fruits of the Spirit. We should keep the fruits of the Spirit.
That's right. And where is it found?
Galatians chapter 5.
Keep the fruits of the Spirit. That's a way to obey God. What's another way? What's something else we should do to obey God, Clyde?
Don't love worldly things.
No, we shouldn't love worldly things. We love godly things. So, 1 John 2:15-17 tells us don't love worldly things. Oh, I like this one. What does this one say?
Love your neighbor.
Right. Matthew 22:39. Love your neighbor. That's a way to obey God. Oh boy, this is your favorite verse, Clyde.
Children, obey your parents. Obey your parents. Ephesians 6:1.
Okay, so that's another way that we can obey God. Here we go. Abracadabra. Rudy Kazoo. Tell me what happens if I obey you. For great is your reward in heaven. That's right, Clyde. If we obey God, He's going to give us our heavenly home. John 14, verses 2 through 4 said, my Father's house, and this was Jesus speaking, my Father's house has many rooms. If that were so, would I have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. If you know the way to the place where I am going. We know the way because we've been following and obeying God's commands. All right. Make sure you work on your memory verse this week. And we hope to see you next week when Kids of Integrity will be studying about perseverance. Thanks for joining us this morning. We love you guys. Bye.